The non-conference slated OU, at least in football, is usually pretty good. One easy bot to kind of get your feet wet, a road non-conference game, and a home conference game. At least this year. The home conference game this year, Tennessee and the Volunteers. A lot of football history there. And Tennessee Volunteer guys, 8-5, 5-3 in Big 12 play, or SEC play, Eastern Division. But who they lost to in the Eastern Division and their other conference loss, not bad losses when it's all said and done. We'll go over what Tennessee goes through this season next. Last season, Boomer Sooner 1982. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show, everybody. My name's Harry James. 2019 make their home first, though, in Neyland Stadium out there on the riverbanks of Tennessee. 8-5, 5-3 in SEC Eastern Divisional play. But think about who those three SEC teams are. Two of them, Florida and Georgia, both really good teams from last year. And Alabama, who was in it, at least Alabama was in it till the end of the road, as was Georgia in it till the end of the road, losing to LSU, respectively, both teams. They did go to a bowl in 2019 where they beat Indiana in the Gator Bowl, 23-22 in favor of Tennessee. Speaking of Alabama, their new head coach is in his second year, and that is Jeremy Pruitt from Alabama. Returning starters from last season in 2019, his second year on campus. Well, what about Dalton Hill? He's the quarterback returning, number 2 quarterback. Dalton Hill, he wears number 2, that is. Passed for 2,158 total yards last year, 16 TDs, 15 interceptions, however, 54 is a long, 166.0 yards per ball game, and 13 games for Dalton Hill. By the way, he was the number 1 quarterback for Tennessee last year. The leading rushers, number 1 and number 2, return also for Tennessee. That includes number 14, Ty Chandler, and number 3, Eric Gray. Chandler first. 14, Ty Chandler, 135 carries, 655 yards, 3 touchdowns, 53 along, averaging 51.4 an average per ball game in 13 games. In 13 games, Eric Gray also had a pretty good season. 101 rushes, 539 yards, 4 touchdowns. His longest run was 94 yards out. His yards per game average on the ground, 41.2 yards per ball game in 13 games. This is where it gets kind of tricky, where they lost their number 1 and number 2 receiver. The number 3 receiver returns, as does the number 5 receiver return. We'll start with number 3, and that's Joshua Palmer. 5, Josh Palmer, 34 receptions at the end of the day, 457 yards of offense, and a touchdown in the air. 33 was his longest catch. 5.2 yards per ball game in average in 13 games for Palmer. Now for the fifth leading receiver on the team was number 4 on the jersey, and that's Lorenzo Thomas. 13 pops for reception, 115 yards, and a touchdown. Longest catch, 23 yards out, 8.9 in average yards per ball game in 13 games. That's offense, but you know what you got to have for Jeremy, and that particularly because he did go back to Alabama, where I'm pretty sure Nick Saban taught him a little defense. I'm sure of that. Well, speaking of that defense, what about number 11, second leading tackler on the team from last year, also Henry Toto, and number 26, Theo Jackson. We'll start with Henry Toto, number 11, 72 total tackles by the end of the year, 0 forced fumbles, a fumble recovered, and 0 picks. As a linebacker for Tennessee, played in 11 games. The fourth leading tackler on the team, 26, defensive back Theo Jackson, 29 total tackles, 3 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovered, 1 pick for the defensive back in 12 football games. Special teams, leading kicker and punter, respectively, returning. What about Brett Kilimanjaro? 23 for 27, 85.1 per average, long of 53 yards in 13 games. Also, Paxton Brooks, he wears 37 at 30 punts, 42.0 in average, 59 along in 13 games last season. Their head coach, talked about Jeremy Pruitt, 1996 grad from Alabama, has been at the University of Tennessee for 2 years, from 2018, I guess this is third year, 18, 19, and now 20. Coaching record in the 2 years that he's already been there, 13 and 12. That is a 52% winning clip in 25 games. And 1-0 in the bowl games with the win over Indiana in the Gator Bowl. All right, guys, that'll do for this week. Next week, we will preview the one non-conference game that everybody's talking about for Oklahoma, at least. And that is the game at West Point, at Army, where you call it West Point, whether you call it Army, it doesn't matter. But you better respect the jersey, baby. It's going to be fun for the preview next week. Until then, guys, my name's Terry James. Stay cool, stay calm. Boomer Center, everybody. I'm out of here. Peace.